Thank you, my friend. He kupu tuku iho mo tēnei reanga. Te iwi tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou I tēnei rā ka mihi ahau ki te mana whenua. Nōna te mana I tēnei whenua no reira te iwi squamish tēnā koutou. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the introduction. My name's Peter Lucas. I come from Te Aupōuri, Ngāi Takoto, and Te Rarawa in the very far north of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I want to share a little bit about our story. I'm going to flick around so you're going to see a few things on the screen. We started as a tribal radio station in 1990. In the late 80s, our grandmothers and aunts had a dream that our language would not be siloed into an academic experience, but we would retain it as a method of communication. Fast forward to 2018, we developed the first Indigenous language automatic speech recognition. That wasn't just all we did, we also developed speech synthesis for our language. And it was important for us to think about data sovereignty because as we understood our past, we also had a vision for a preferred future. And so we developed a data license that represented our hopes and dreams for data sovereignty, knowing that without the data, there is no data science. And our gold was our culture and our language. The things we had retained after every little bit had been removed from our possession as part of the colonization process. And so that was probably the most innovative thing that we did, was actually developing our data license. I want to acknowledge that we were supported by NVIDIA to develop a small GPU cluster in our hometown of Kaitaia, where we are creating tools, language tools in our own community on our own land. And so we have about 15 years experience. And that's moving from radio to tribal television to developing critical infrastructure for our tribal radio station, which is one of 21 in Aotearoa. And they represent a monument to those of our relatives that had the courage to stand up for what was right. And so why do we discuss why we exist? We exist because of language loss and cultural decline as a result of systemic bias and a system of power that wanted to see us eliminated. Māori language, or our Indigenous language, is the medium and the carrier of our culture. And all things Māori, including our philosophical worldview, the way we categorize the world, our ontology, everything about our culture is contained within our language. And so we are established to promote Māori language and Māori culture from a Māori perspective. Yeah. Fast forward in 2014, we moved from analog radio. We had a digital switchover and we created our own digital platform, started live video streaming using phones, patched together with Raspberry Pis, taking our content to our people. 80% of those do not live in our traditional territory. Because of a number of reasons, many of our people have become urbanized, disconnected and alienated from our language, our culture, and our identity. And so this was a way for us to take who we were to our people. Current affairs, news, topical issues, debate, music, all those types of things. Live video streaming, competitions, dance competitions, speech competitions, our funerals, which can go for days. Soon as somebody passes away in our culture, they will never leave the body. The body is taken, and the whole memory of that person is celebrated for at least 3 days in our space, which is called the marae. And each of us have what we call a close connection with our land through our marae. I want to tell you about why we did this. We did this because we started to transcribe 30 years of archives. 30 years of archives, talking to our elders, recording information about every maunga, every mountain, every awa, every river. Ngā whetui te rangi, the stars in the sky. Ngā waiere atu nei, the waters that flow out to the oceans. And we interviewed people about medicine. Why do you pick scrape the bark from a tree that faces the sun and not the bark that does not face the sun? All of that intricate information that, guess what, has commercial value. It has commercial value, and we know that because there is an interest in our understanding of what grows in the seabed. But I want to mention how we motivated our people. We realized quickly that we couldn't transcribe 30 years of data. So we decided to teach computers how to speak Māori. And we developed a reading competition. And we captivated the attention of our people. The oldest reader was in their 90s, and the youngest reader was just starting to read. And so it was an intergenerational experience that included everybody. Everyone was on this journey, reading sentences. There were corporations, companies that wanted to help us, but they didn't have the cultural intelligence to work with our people. In fact, we understood that our experience with these types of systems of power were usually when something was wanted from us. Something was wanted from us. So we wanted to do it ourselves. And in 10 days, we gathered 316 tagged and labeled utterances by running a reading competition. And that reading competition was so engaging. It was so engaging, and it created the corpus that would help us create our automatic speech recognition. Our Papareo API also includes a pronunciation model, recognizing that when people have had their language, their culture, and their identity forcibly removed from themselves, there is a trauma associated with reconnection. Recognizing that we wanted to restore native sound to the mouths of our people. And that is why we started to develop a pronunciation app. That pronunciation app was called Rongo, and Rongo, you can download it if you want to learn some Māori pronunciation, but what it does is ensures that you do not see any characters, that you do not see any words. Because when people see characters, they sometimes associate the English sounds with them. And so we will provide you with a word, we will provide you with a phrase, and you will mimic that. Rather than giving you a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or 70%, 90% right, we will never tell you what you got wrong. We will instead celebrate what you got right. And in celebrating what we got right, we can take people to a place of native sound. And recognizing that our relatives sometimes feel judged, inadequate, not good enough, because we can't sometimes speak our language. I want to mention now how important it is to engage with the community. And it's so important to engage with the community, and this is an example of the type of broadcasting that we do. And that is some of the competitions that we capture. And the reason we do that is because these are our young people telling our history through dance. And we also provide that through an app that we've created. This app provides real-time access to the 21 tribal radio stations all throughout Aotearoa, New Zealand, listening to news and current affairs from our perspective. Because we know that the perspective that's largely shared about our people is not very good. And that for a reason, we still understand to be biased. Almost 65% of the New Zealand jail population is Māori women in a female prison. More than 55% of the male prison is Māori men. We're only 17% of our population. So we're motivated by wanting more in our lives. And I wanted to give you a quick example of our technology. So here is, here's a sentence. And this is our voice synthesis. And we've built these things from the ground up. Ka whakaaro ahau ki te iwi take no nā te mana tūturu I ne whenua. And we've got a woman's voice as well, which is my cousin.
These are generated?
Hey?
These are generated?
Yeah, I'm generating it now. We got our GPUs in Kaitaia.
Ka whakaaro ahau ki te iwi take no nā te mana tuturu I nei whenua.
So that just means we think about the people that are the original people of this land. And then we have a bilingual, because we do a lot of code switching in our language. People speak Māori and in English, so we've just started to develop a bilingual. So this is my first time in Vancouver. Ka whakaaro ahau ki te iwi take no nā te mana tūturu I ne whenua. This is my first time visiting Vancouver. Ka whakaaro ahau ki te iwi take no nā te mana tūturu I ne whenua. And I'll just show you our voice synthesis. Oh, no, not the voice synthesis, the other thing. Kia ora kia koutou, e mihi ana hau kia koutou I tēnei whare. Ka whakaaro ahau ki ngā kai kōrero, nā rātou ngā kaupapa I whakatakoto, I mua I ahau. I just want to acknowledge all the other speakers that have spoken tonight. This is our bilingual speech to text that we have built from the ground up. And these are examples of Indigenous self-determination, something that's really, really important that we encourage. And I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to come here and speak about this tonight. Kia ora mai anō tātou. So we've got a grant from the New Zealand government. We were the first ever non-university to be awarded a domestic data science grant. And we don't want to be the last. But I think more importantly is we were the first Indigenous tribal organisation and iwi radio station with an established data pipeline that not only had the data, knew how to tag and label it. Because no one knows our language and our culture like we do. And I wanted to share that with you because we also have our data license. And essentially, our data license makes sure that anyone that wants to partner with us, anybody that wants to strategically work with us, understands that accessing our tools means that they will not be used for the surveillance of our people. They will not be used to track. They will not be used for discrimination and continuing efforts of persecution and unfairness. And they will not be allowed to build Māori corpora. And we know what that means. They will not be allowed for that. And they will not be allowed for mining Māori data, because this isn't just about teaching the computer how to speak our language. It's about growing high value jobs for our people, populating high value roles with our relations, creating an economic base in our community that will support an increased health and well-being, not only for our young people, but for our elders too. And so this is what motivates us when we do things, because it's not just about speech recognition, it's about people, place, and identity. And as the former speaker mentioned, economic development, so important, so important. And we want to preserve the economic opportunity for us to lead work that is important and empowering for our own community. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Watson, you bless us.